Joining me in the studio now is Milo Yiannopoulos, a columnist for conservative news website Breitbart. Milo, you're very welcome to the programme this hour. Donald Trump claims he's incredibly popular with the gay community, and comments to that effect have got short shrift online. What makes him think that he's got their support?
Well, you know what's interesting about Trump is the message that he has against political correctness, which has been such a cancer infecting the political left, should be a message that homosexuals are receptive to. After all, the best thing about gay culture is the dissidence, the subversion, the mischief. And when you couple that with what happened in Orlando recently and the left's total failure to stick up for gay people, and instead its insistence on pandering to radical Islam, you see quite obviously why gay people, who I think are natural libertarians, and are gravitating towards Trump. All over West Hollywood, there were these posters coming out the last couple of days, you know, shoot back, the Gadsden flag, which is this great libertarian don't tread on me icon, with the rainbow flag sort of juxtaposed behind it. I'm seeing hundreds of people emailing me and tweeting me and all the rest of it. I have a reasonably good idea of what gay people are thinking about, because I now have the sort of big enough audience that that I can judge how many people are feeling a particular way. I'm seeing a huge sea change, a really colossal and it should be very worrying to the left, a huge sea change among gays who are sort of voting grudgingly for Trump. They're saying, you know what, I don't like anything else the guy does, but he's the only one that's going to protect us. The aftermath of Orlando, as terrible as that crisis, that tragedy was, I think might be very, very culturally significant. In the last election in the UK, 50% of gay men told pollsters they were going to vote for the Tories, for our Conservative Party. I think something similar is about to happen in this election.
In one recent interview, Trump claimed that the tragic events in Orlando wouldn't have turned out quite as bad if more club-goers had been armed themselves. Isn't it crass to suggest that a club full of armed people, you know, getting drunk, etc., is a good idea? I know that he did pull that back a few days later, saying that it's about guards and employees having it, but the way he said it in the first place suggests that he wanted a lot of drunk people with weapons in a club. The fact that firearms are so commonplace in the US is surely part of the problem here, isn't it?
Well, yes, but telling gay people that they should be in safe spaces and gun-free zones is the exact opposite of looking after them. Gun-free zones are safe spaces for killers. All of the big shooting tragedies recently in the US have happened in gun-free zones, because they're the places the maniacs can go knowing that no one's going to shoot back until armed response arrives from law enforcement. Now, what Trump said, everyone in the club should be armed. Well, I said a similar thing, when I first saw that, and even the NRA said maybe that's a little bit far. So, maybe it's not a good idea to have lots of guns around where people are drinking. But here's the key point. Here's the message. Progressives are telling gays that the way to deal with this is twofold. One, to deny the connection between Islam and terrorism, to deny the connection between Islam and homophobic attacks like this. You can't do that anymore after Orlando. And two, that these expressions of peace and love from dumb celebrities are somehow going to keep people safer. They're not. What will keep people safer is being honest with them about the risks, being honest with them about the perils to gay lifestyle in America. Being gay in America has become dangerous again, not thanks to the religious right, not thanks to like cis-het white patriarchal, school shooters. It's become dangerous again because of Islam. And if people are not adequately educated about this, and if people are not, told the truth, they're not able to protect themselves and protect their families. The most productive thing that I've seen come out of all of this is the Pink Pistols, which is a great organization in the US, and various other gun enthusiasts telling gay people, come down, we'll teach you how to use a gun for free, we'll teach you how to protect yourselves. Now, whether or not you think that a nightclub of gay people should necessarily have been, packed with firearms is up to you. But I'll just leave you with two thoughts. One, I don't really think that any gay club, if you've ever been to a gay club, you know what the atmosphere is like, fun, jubilant. I don't think anybody's about to start a fight and kind of pull guns on each other. I mean, the only people who would do that probably are lesbians. But the other key point here is what you've got to be honest about this. If 3 people had guns, if they'd been strapped up, if they'd had concealed carry permits in that nightclub, the situation would have ended very differently, and the number of casualties could have been 2, not 50.
Just on another point you're making, following the mass shooting, you made public appearances denouncing Islam, tweeting "No more Islam" as well. But isn't that just spreading hate and intolerance? It's not going away. The faith, if anything, is getting stronger right around the world. And something like that, when you've got millions of people who follow the faith without violence, etc., etc., something like that is just going to get the moderates back up against something like this and make them opposed to people, comments like yours?
I don't much care about getting moderates' backs up. What I care about is them taking ownership and responsibility for what people do in the name of their faith. And, you know, I don't much care about people getting offended by my words. What I care about is Islam, which is a set of beliefs.
But it's not the offence. Sorry for interrupting. It's just that the fact that if they feel as if that's what's happening, you could have a risk that it's sending the message out to more Muslims, for instance, to support these killers, etc., because you're denouncing their faith, you're denouncing who they believe Muhammad is their leader. Things like that, they go a long way, don't they, in the Muslim world?
Well, you hear this sometimes from Muslim leaders, you know, and what it boils down to is like, be nice to us or we'll kill more of you. Well, I'm sorry, but that doesn't sound like sensible advice about calming down overheated rhetoric in the public square. It sounds like a threat. And frankly, I think people need to understand that the anti-gay and the anti-women problem, by the way, because I don't take any pleasure in seeing the streets of London change like they have recently with all of these people wandering around in blankets and towels. What I see is a set of beliefs profoundly antithetical to our way of life, which routinely oppresses the hundreds of millions of women who are affected by it, and which kills homosexuals. And let me be very clear about this. This is not Islamism. This is not terrorism. This is not ISIS. This is Islam. In Britain, which is not an extremist country where we're supposed to all be assimilated, 100% of Muslims, according to a Gallup poll just a few years ago, said that homosexuality was an unacceptable lifestyle choice. 52% of them want it made illegal. And for the feminists out there, I'd also like to remind you, 39% of British Muslims say that a woman should always obey her husband. What difference does my rhetoric make when 100% of Muslims already believe that homosexuality is an unacceptable lifestyle choice? That is a direct result of their belief system. Nothing I say is going to make a difference. What I want to focus on is protecting people against that threat.
Back to homosexuality. Donald Trump's also not the biggest supporter of gay people when it comes to marriage equality, is he? He once said he would consider appointing justices to overrule the landmark decision of the Supreme Court. Just your views on that.
Donald Trump is probably the most pro-gay presidential candidate in history. He is definitely the most pro-gay Republican candidate in history. So if you're somebody who believes in a small state and freedom, but you've been put off sometimes by the social attitudes of old-style Republicans, Donald Trump is for you. He was defending gay people against the Clintons 20 years ago. Hillary Clinton will do nothing for gays, and the gays who are, I'm with her kind of homosexuals are dumb as sticks. They are really stupid people. This is a candidate who has done nothing for blacks, although blacks always vote for her, nothing for gays, gays always vote for her. These people are dumb and they've been brainwashed by the left. Donald Trump has repeatedly, not only in his private life, but also in his public statements, stood up for homosexuals in a way that the progressive left never has. He came out immediately after Orlando with very strong, very inspiring statements, in my view, about how we need to protect ourselves and the steps we need to take to protect gay people. What did Hillary Clinton do? Pander to and make excuses for Islam. We have to understand here, this is not like, some sort of newspaper quarrel about whether, some Christian is going to bake a cake or not. This is about people with guns who want to kill us. Christians don't do this. Muslims do. And it isn't just terrorists. It is, think about the terrorist attacks in Paris and Brussels. This was homegrown jihadists. This stuff is 2 streets away from you. And it is being taught in mosques that the government just allows to preach whatever the hell they want to. In Orlando, where that killer was, 3 weeks prior to the attack, a guy was hosted on the subject of how do we fix the homosexuality problem. This guy is on record as saying the compassionate thing to do is to kill all gays. This is not a terror thing, this is an Islam thing. And only the right is honest about this. Only Republicans are saying what actually needs to happen. And only Republicans are really doing what it takes to protect homosexuals. And the left is pandering to and making excuses for Islam over and over again. Donald Trump, in everything that we have seen from him in his career and everything that he has said since Orlando, seems to me to be the most, not just saying it and saying the nice words and having the hashtags and the rainbow avatars on Twitter, but in real terms, what will actually benefit and keep safe gay people, Donald Trump appears to me to be the most pro-gay candidate in American electoral history. Just
to put one final point to you on what you're saying, that to paraphrase in a very rough way, that Muslims are against gay people because of their religion and are calling for a crackdown. America is defined by its diversity of peoples. The LGBT community has to struggle for its rights. You know that better than anyone. Should the Muslim community really be persecuted in what's a similar way here?
We need to get away from talking about about the country in terms of the X community and the Y community. The left has done this. It has divided people for decades. It's say, oh, you're the gay community, so you get these special rights and responsibilities, and you're oppressed, and you're underprivileged, and you've been struggling. I don't know any gay people who struggle. Being gay is a massive competitive advantage these days. Sure, 50 years ago, maybe not. 50 years ago, of course, when it was outlawed by all the states, it was institutions like the Catholic Church who were protecting gay people by putting them into the clergy. But never mind. Pitting these minorities against each other is not something I did. I didn't invent this. The progressive left did. They precipitated these minority wars by setting blacks against Hispanics, gays against Muslims. Well, this is the result. This silly dream of multiculturalism driven by incompetent, idiotic, globalist politicians who think that everybody is just the same as everybody else and everybody can live nicely together. Well, your peace, love, and understanding rhetoric does not influence mullahs in Iran and does not influence hate preachers in Orlando. They're going to listen to you, laugh at you, and carry on preaching hate. Because, all these hashtags on Twitter and all of the ridiculous platitudes that are pouring out of dumb celebrities and progressive politicians right now, how many Islamic radicals, fundamentalists, how many hate preachers, how many Muslims at home do you think are listening? How many lives do you think this will save? None. Gay charities, every single gay charity in America deserves to be shut down after their response to Orlando, which has been spineless and pandering. It is absolutely shocking.
That's the thoughts of Milo Yiannopoulos, a columnist for conservative news website Breitbart, and also known on Twitter to his hundreds of thousands of followers as Nero. We appreciate your time and your thoughts on this subject. Thank you.